Okay. Good evening and welcome to the November 15th Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. I hope everyone has had a calmer day than I have had today. And I just remind you that we are recording this meeting. And I'm Barbara Zoller-Gringer, the chair, and my co-chair is Andrew Lastawecki, who is joining us this evening. We ask our committee members as possible to please keep your videos on and remind everybody that it really helps the meetings progress well is if you can keep your audio off unless you're the one speaking. And we'll ask you, there'll be times for comments and questions. And if for some reason we don't get to your comments or questions, please put them in the chat and the office will get back to you. If you or someone you know needs has a physical limitation or needs a special accommodation to attend these meetings, please notify the district office and we will make those accommodations. I would just now ask the committee members present to introduce themselves. Andrew, you can start. Okay, strong silent type. Lenny Leventon is acting as our minute taker this evening, so thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
If the other members can identify themselves.
Sure. Hi, I'm Suzanne Quint. I'm a member of the committee and the board.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Carolyn Kamadan-Weary, member of the committee and the board.
Thanks for being here, Carolyn. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Candace Harrison, and I'm a member of the committee.
Good to see you, Candace. Hope all is well.
Jennifer Melby, a member of the committee.
And frequently our minute taker, so thank you for that. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Hi, I'm here too, Sabrina Lucia Rez.
Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Andrew,
moved.
who said
Second.
so? Oh, Carolyn. Okay, all approve? All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. None opposed. Thank you. And the minutes from October, we were given a few edits, a number of edits to those minutes as amended. Do I have any, is there anyone who has any other further edits for the minutes? Okay. Therefore, we can view the minutes as being approved from October. That brings us to number 5 on our list for discussion this evening. And that would be the local parks that people have been keeping an eye on. We thought we'd get an update from everybody. I have a list here. Maybe Lenny, we'll start with you. You were looking at the Edmonds Playground.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was hoping I wouldn't be the first one called on because, well, I've been past there, but I can't say that I've been in there
Okay.
more than a couple over the last month or two at least. But I do know that it's been approved and a plan to be addressed and worked on, including repaving and addressing all the other issues there.
Okay.
So.
Right. I don't know that we have a date as to when that is going to take place. I don't remember.
I don't really I don't know that they said what the date was.
Right.
It is in the works.
Okay. I see there are bathrooms there. So.
Oh, yeah, there's one, a men's and a women's bathroom.
Okay.
I'm trying to orient myself to the direction of this. Okay, there goes decal. Okay, I know where it is. The one on the left, the square building, now it's shrunk. So, yeah, okay, that one that you're circling, that's the bathrooms. The women's is on the side you're pointing at, the men's is on the top. And to the left is probably their utility entrance and workroom or storage room. No, I mean in that building, in that brick building. To the towards decal up top. If you move the arrow, I can explain where everything is there. Okay, and that area is the entry, the decal entry. There are a few, I would say, picnic slash chess tables, 4 of them. Here's the place itself. That building there, there you can see their full court, basketball court. That will be repaved.
That's great.
It's just another view, I guess, of the bathroom. But there's a sprinkler in there that I think needs repaving before some kid trips in there and gets hurt, which I did say to the to when they presented how they were going to fix up the playground. And I'm sure they're going to do what needs to be done there because they reported pretty thoroughly on their plans.
Do you know offhand if any school uses that playground?
There are 3 schools in there.
Okay.
There's 2 school buildings. Let me see if I can orient myself to this. Yeah, there are tennis courts in there. I think 3 of them. I can see 2 in this picture. There may be a 3rd. Maybe I'm wrong. But there are 2 school buildings. One behind those tennis courts on the bottom where you're circling, and one to the left. I think that longer building is a second building that has 2 schools in that same building. I think one of the schools is a special needs school, kids with special needs. They use it a lot, the playground. The supervisors and teachers told me that they really would like to see it repaved so the kids don't keep tripping in there and getting hurt. I don't think there would be any major accidents, but they bruise and cut themselves in there at times. So that's what needs to be done in there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Suzanne, I have you here next, the Chapin and Pierpont.
Yeah, I haven't been back up to them since I was there over the summer. But I have a question. Did we, because Pierpont also needs the resurfacing, is another one of the parks that needs the resurfacing. When Parks got back to us with regards to Edmonds, was it specifically just about Edmonds? It was, okay. Yeah. All right, well, we put the resurfacing on our statement of needs, the resurfacing in general on our statement of needs. That was definitely the primary need there.
Right. Well, they did tell Parks did tell us, that they do have a schedule
right
for repaving. It reminds me of this, which I'll get to when I report of the schedule by Parks Department for trees, which is, unfortunately, it is not very timely unless there's an emergency. But that's something certainly we could bring up again about the resurfacing of Pierpont.
Yeah.
When we see them again.
It would be good to get just some more transparency on the schedules overall. I know Sabrina and I have been in some conversations with regards to Cadman and some turf replacement there, which is something else we learned is on, there's a schedule for that as well. So I think in general, it would be good, maybe when they come in for their reports, if that's something that they include in their reports.
Of schedules. Yeah. Well, I know they have talked about them over the year. I think the tree pruning is like every 5 years. I may be wrong, but I think there's something like that.
Yeah, but it would be good to know when the parks, well, trees is bigger because there's many trees, but from a turf and a surfacing perspective, when that is actually scheduled for each of our parks and playgrounds.
Those pictures make the playground look much more attractive than it actually is, and reminds me that somebody who I spoke to at Pierpont said it'd be nice if they had flowers, and certainly there was some greenery highlighted in that photo, one of those photos we were just looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like Pierpont, and I saw somebody was joining us from Brooklyn Heights Association. My understanding, I don't live right there, is that, is that Pierpont, there's a friends group that's sort of loosely associated with the BHA.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So they have
Pierpont, Promenade Gardens, something. I mean, if you have specific questions, I can certainly either take them and get back to you, or I can put you in touch with the appropriate people.
Yeah, I'd love to be in touch with them, and maybe if you want to just put.
I don't remember, Taya, do you, if we had someone from the Promenade Garden Conservancy when we,
I don't think so.
It's not ringing a bell.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
good to know.
Suzanne, if you want to send me an email address.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat. I don't mind.
Great. Okay.
And then, yeah.
Well, I was going to suggest that you send it to the board. I would also like to suggest that you identify yourself, because I'm not sure who you are.
I'm Chris Bastian. I'm on the board of the BHA. I'm in other lives, I'm the chair of the transportation committee.
Okay.
But I'm basically monitoring the CB2 committees for anything relevant to the neighborhood.
Terrific. I think that's wonderful. And we love having you here. Please don't hesitate to come back.
Okay.
And we're always looking for new public members.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're probably busy, but you could always use another committee. Mm-hmm. So, and then you'd have a real handle on what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, so thank you for being here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, I have Jennifer and Crispic Atticus.
Yes, I walked over there actually yesterday, early afternoon, Sunday, and the basketball court was just, I mean, they must have had 4 or 5 different groups with pickup games. So that was really well used. And there weren't that many people in there. The only thing I noticed in terms of since we're speaking about asphalt, is that in front of the swing area for the small children, it was kind of, there's just a strip of asphalt going down in front of the swings, which is kind of broken up. And there seemed to be a little bit more trash than there was necessary hanging around on the ground. But other than that, I mean, there weren't, aside from the basketball courts, there was hardly anybody there because it was pretty windy, but
right.
So that's the first time I've been back since early summer, but.
All right, well, thanks. Your basketball courts, I think, tend to be the most used part of almost any park.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned, but the bathrooms were open, so.
Okay, so Dwight was the one looking after Green Playground, but we do know that they're, they do have the redesign for that playground and the funds to work on it. Andrew, Underwood Playground.
Before we go on 2 items, I wanted to ask Jennifer if in the future she could take a look, and I hope you hear me well enough.
Yeah.
There was some good money spent on the building.
Right.
And I'm just curious, how is it being used now?
Okay, yeah. I remember that, and I don't know, so I'll check.
Because the previous council person spent good money on it. The idea was to possibly create like a computer stations for the kids in the neighborhood,
Right.
to access it because they don't have good Wi-Fi at home and whatever. And every time I've passed by it, it's like it seems locked and nobody's there.
Right.
And that was a couple of $1 million that went into that. So
Okay.
on the if we're talking about the green playground, I was just there the other day, and I just wanted to report that the pads underneath all the playground equipment are in terrible shape. Terrible, really terrible, and it's been that way for 4 or 5 years.
Well, that playground is scheduled for a total redo. Of course, it's not going to start till 2023, according to this.
But the pads were in bad shape 4 or 5 years ago. We've been constantly mentioning it, and it goes nowhere.
Okay.
And it's, the shame of it was that the council person just used to live across the street from me.
Yeah, I don't think we have anyone on tonight from the Parks Committee. I mean, from the Parks Department. So
it's a well-used playground.
Right.
It was kind of empty today, but the kids were some I don't know, some kind of a school event, not school with regards to the school in the area, but somebody that's running possibly a daycare center or something, brings kids to the concrete courts that are there. And they were there today and they're using it fantastically well. So that's kind of, I was always crying out that concrete field is absolutely not used. Well, it's used, by some class of some people. So at least that's getting good use. Now, going back to Underwood Playground, that's playground is fantastic. It's getting a hell of a lot of good use from people in the neighborhood. In the early morning to the afternoon, it's always full of nannies with kids. And towards the evening, the parents take over. The pads underneath all the play equipment is phenomenal. It's absolutely a safe park because it kind of made sure that the kids would not have an easy access to run out into Lafayette Avenue, which is a very heavily trafficked area. There is on the upper part of above the playground, there's like this part we just passed. There's like an adult seating area that when I was there in the summertime here, that's looking into like a kiddie pool, not a pool, but a whatever you might call it. It's just like a spray garden pool for kids. But just where the benches are and behind the benches is sort of like an adult area. And it could use pruning or actually cutting the grass in the summertime, which was not evident at all. And even the employee that was working there pointed that out to me, that nobody comes around to cut the grass. So that's kind of a shame, but don't mention that to the Parks Department. I hope he doesn't lose his job. The restrooms are well maintained, clean. When you use them, They need a little, mopping up and down occasionally. But the person working that playground was meticulously cleaning everything up.
That's great.
Yeah. And I have to say, it's a very heavily used park. I'm so proud of it. See, that's that spray garden for kids.
Mm.
There's also somebody is maintaining a little garden on the side of the park facing Washington Avenue. I don't know who it is, but they ought to be kind of prodded to go in there more because that garden seems to be being kind of slightly neglected.
Okay.
It has. I don't think it has anything to do with the Parks Department. I think there must be some volunteer people that are maintaining that garden, and maybe maybe they lost people, maybe they lost volunteers.
Thank you for that report.
If you could go on and I could get rid of it under my headache, I visited Parham Playground for a few times.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The Parham Playground. Oh. If nobody's got that, if you could bring it up, Taya. it's a park or playground that has a mini pool. I didn't see kids using it, but I did see kids leaving the park on occasions with swimming trikes. So, you know, obviously somebody's using that pool.
Okay.
The pads under the play equipment could also stand a little bit repair, and there are some cracks in the sidewalk all around in the park. Years ago, I want to mention that, but put a footnote on that. I live at the Clifton Hill Apartments, and we used to have too many kids playing in our courtyard. And when we try to get them to go to the park, which is like a block away from our courtyard, some of the parents said that they will not let their kids go into that playground simply because the configuration is very poor. That being is that the kids have a playground, but at the other end is basketball courts. And the basketball courts are frequented by young adults. And the language between the kids and the young adults is probably a lot of times not appropriate. A lot of nice greenery in this park. I'm surprised at it. You know, it's like, it's places where you could have picnics and everything on the side. The pads could use a little bit fixing up. Now, this is also, there is a area alongside the park on Claremont Avenue that's kind of where the people used to take their dogs for a walk. And somebody poo-pooed it that it's inappropriate. But really, it was good for the area to take the dogs for a walk there. It's absolutely not used. And unfortunately, the Parks Department said, no, it's inappropriate. And this is just at the time that Lenny was beginning to look for the dog run at University Towers. And that's about it.
Thank you, Andrew. Carolyn, the South Oxford Park?
Yes, I was in there again today. It was quite chilly by the time I got there, so there weren't many people in the park. It is a heavily used park, though, ordinarily, and the playground is in pretty good condition, except that there is a missing slide. The ground cover is still in fair condition. I think it's time to start planning to renew it, though. There are some cracks in the pathways, but I think the bigger problem is the artificial turf on the central quad. It has been breaking up over the years and is not in good condition at all now.
Excuse me 1 second.
Carolyn, my apologies. Which park are you reviewing?
Oxford. South
South
Oxford.
Oxford.
Thanks so much.
And I recall that when the chair of the Friends group spoke at one of our meetings, they brought up the fact that the artificial turf needs to be renewed. And Marty Markowitz, I believe, said that that's something that was doable, but I'm not sure what kind of schedule they are on for renewing it. Otherwise, the tennis courts were refurbished a couple of years ago, but they have cracks now in the surface, and that needs to be taken care of. I don't know if they can do some kind of patch job rather than resurfacing the whole thing, but it does need to be done because with the winter, with water getting in it and ice, and it, you know, spreads the cracks, and that'll be a bigger problem. That's not, oh, Taya, I'm not sure if that was that the quad? It didn't look like it. No, that, okay. And it's a park that's used by several daycare centers in the area during the week. So it is heavily used. The Friends group has started opening up programming again. They had something for Halloween, and they're planning to do some other programs. during the winter. So that's pretty much that. My other park was
Carolyn, at South Oxford, were people using the tennis courts? Were people using the tennis courts?
Oh, it was heavily used during the summer.
Yes.
And people were waiting for courts because there were only, 2 courts, so people were waiting to use it. Today, however, everything was empty when I went by today.
Okay.
But during the
tennis
summer,
court is, I suppose that the people who are into tennis know about it, but it's a little bit of a secret within the district.
Well, there are people waiting to use it. So, and it's kind of an honor system that they only use it an hour, and sometimes there's a little bit of heavy discussion because people overrun their time.
And you said you have another park.
Well, the other one that I had been looking at was Kyla Gore, but as you know, that's going to have some major renovations. It has real surfacing problems. The surfacing is sinking in a lot of places and cracking up, and so it needs a great deal of work.
Yeah.
Some of it's from tree roots, some of it's just from the sinking over the subways. And then when there's rain or any precipitation, there's a lot of puddling. So these are all things that will be taken care of with the major renovation that's supposed to happen with that park.
It's always unfortunate that it takes so long. That's really almost 2 years off. As is that other green until they start the construction. So it's kind of frustrating.
And it's heavily used during the warmer weather. Today, there were just a few adults sitting on benches. But during the warm weather, it was used quite a bit, and certainly used in the playground area by children. And before the close down, it was used for a lot of programming, permitted programming. So
it's good to know because whenever I've walked by Kyla Gore, it seems pretty empty. So it, just maybe when it's probably more so on the weekend that I'm over there, but I'm glad to hear that it really is used. Okay. So thank you for those 2 parks. Candace, Washington Hall Park.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I live down the street from Washington Hall Park. I pass there just about every day with my dog. The park, it still has a man that's living in the park. He's been living there for about a year now. He has downsized with some of the things that he has had on his little section. But he pretty much lives, there was like a tiny area where people would go and like have their dogs run. It's like an enclosed area. And I know that dogs are not supposed to be in parks, but people would like let their dogs go. And it's a very, very small area. And there are maybe like 2 or 3 benches in that section. And that's where the man lives. And I don't know if he put a sign there or if someone from the parks department put a sign there, but the sign had said like, no dogs allowed over here, which I had never seen before. And it has been there probably for like the past like 2 months now. But yeah, since that man is living in that section, no one really goes over there anymore. The basketball courts are in high use in this park. There's someone, I think he's like started like a youth basketball league in the area. So there like some young kids that practice at that park like once a week. And then there's some school kids that have like step practice there during the week. The handball courts are really utilized, and so is like the little playground section. I will say that park has like an infrastructure issue. So when it rains really, really heavily, like the basketball courts are like flooded for a while. It's like there's same like one section where there's just like, it could be standing water for like a week, depending on the weather.
Wow.
So it can be really, really bad. But other than that, the park, for the most part, is like pretty clean. There has been somewhat of a dumping issue like during the pandemic with people moving in and moving out. So a lot of people leave like mattresses there sometimes, or just like furniture. It usually doesn't stay there for very long. So whoever like maintains the park, like they make sure it's discarded rather quickly. But there are times that you will see just like maybe like pots and pans, just like on the outskirts of the park. But besides that, yeah, it's a pretty quiet park. And it's been like really utilized. I don't know if anyone has Fort Greene Park, but I visited Fort Greene Park for the past 2 days as well. I'm not sure if anyone has that on the list.
You could tell us what you've, we do hear a lot about Fort Greene, but we'd be delighted to hear what you've observed.
Yeah, so Fort Greene Park, we all know it's like really utilized heavily as well. Right. I haven't been there in like quite a few months, but I went yesterday and today as well. And they definitely have like a lot of signage around now, which I've noticed. Just saying to like throw your trash away, or certain parts of the park, or like passive lawns, so you can only sit here, like no pets. Or there are certain signs around the park that say, like, please avoid this area, like grass is growing. So there are a lot of like fenced off parts of Fort Greene Park now. And even where like the dogs like used to run like in the morning and that really big field opening, that's also like fenced off now. It's not like a metal fence, it looks kind of like wood, like slacks that's created like a fence now. But yeah, it's still like very highly utilized. I will say that there are some parts in the park that need to be fixed, or I don't know, maybe like some kind of repairs, because I noticed that there are like small like openings where rats can go in and out. When I was there over the summertime, it was at like maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I saw a rat run from like one area to another area. So there, like I noticed today, like there are certain sections around the park that have like little openings where like rodents can go into and come out of. So those like need to be patched up.
That's good to know.
But other than that, the tennis courts are in use. I went there today at like around 11:30, and I think every court was taken but one. And then yesterday was pretty much the same thing. Like all the tennis courts were in use yesterday. And yeah, that's about it for Fort Greene Park.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have been wanting to get to McLaughlin Park for a while, and I finally got over there, and I spoke to a couple of people, and it's really, someone was talking about tennis courts that people don't know about. I think McLaughlin Park is a park where I think use is on the upswing, but still a lot of people don't know about it. I think people who live in Concord Village tend to use it. And there's at least one school across the street, a middle school, that uses the park. I spoke to, there's a playground as part of, it's all called McLaughlin Park, but there's a playground within it. The basketball courts look like they're in good shape. They have a big field there. And I was talking to some people who use the park, and, they showed me, I think it's the same problem we've seen elsewhere. This mother showed me on her, picked up all these little black, the turf itself is green, but I guess underneath it and now coming up above it are these little black pieces that when you get home, you find them on your clothing. And so that's something that really needs to be addressed. It wasn't quite certain whether these pieces need to be spread out, but they're like concentrated in one area of the this big field. And the park does have a lot of has a good number of beautiful trees, which provide a lot of shade. Again, someone I was talking to pointed out to me that she's told me you can't tell now, but when there were leaves on the trees, you could see there are certain branches that are really dead and need to be removed. She said there was one problematic branch that the Parks Department did come and remove, and but that there are others that need to be removed. So again, I think, that's something that's on I believe it's a 5-year schedule from the Parks Department. And, but, we really haven't, I don't think we've really heard about that kind of issue from other parks. And again, I think this particular person was very mindful, loves trees and is very mindful of them. So it was a big concern of hers. I noticed that the water fountain there did not stop. It was going. And I went over to it and tried to stop it. It just doesn't stop. Then I was also pointed out, I didn't really notice this, but there's a large retaining wall. There's the park is on Tillery Street, and the part that faces Tillery Street sort of raised, and there's this retaining wall. I didn't really see a problem with it, but I guess it is something that maybe needs some attention. And they do have bathrooms there, and I wanted to reach out to the Parks Department to find out. They do not appear to be accessible bathrooms because they're down a staircase actually, and as part of a building. I mean, I looked in the ladies' room. It's not horrendous. It's kind of typical of what you might find. And there are quite a few. I recall, I think it was about 10 years ago or so, that there was a bit of money put into the park and a redesign of the park. So there are a number of what do you call them? Like a path. I can't think of the word. The path that you would put a wheelchair on. See, you could see that in one of the pictures here. Could someone help me out with the word? Yeah. What's the word I'm looking for?
Ramp.
Ramp. Thank you.
Ramp.
Thank you. Okay. There's a ramp. There are several ramps. And if you look at this big picture and you see you could see the entrance to the bathroom right next to the ramp. If you can see, it looks like a little picture. There's like sort of an arch. You have to go downstairs to get there. So, and also I was wondering what goes on in this building, whether it's used for storage or something else. So I want to reach out to the Parks Department to find that out. And it is possible there's some sort of elevator in that building that goes down to the bathrooms, but I need to find that out. Otherwise, it would appear that these bathrooms are not accessible, but they do seem to be in usable condition. So I am planning to go back there again soon. It appears that the park does get a good deal of use, but it probably could stand more use from the neighborhood. And as you know, there is a lot of building going around, not quite adjacent, but nearby. So the people who use it are very fond of it. Mm-hmm. So
I don't live too far from that park. And I walk past there fairly often in the warmer weather. I always see the field area in use.
Yes.
Could be league games, could be pickup games. It looks like it's pretty well used and organized. So I think I'm going to keep an eye on that park too from now.
Good. I think there is some group through Concord Village that runs some sort of I don't know that it's a league, but some sort of organized play on that field. So it's as I said, there was some work done on the park about 10 years ago, and I know from our experience with Commodore agree that once the Parks Department has done something like that in a park, then they like to go on to another project rather than going back there. So
Barbara,
yeah,
because I know one of the things we want to do is surface items for future agendas as well, and just like more knowledge about turf. I think would be a good agenda item. Sabrina and I were engaged in a conversation or have been around conversations about Cadman Plaza. There's a lot of conversation around the turf, the same thing, the black pieces coming up on people, a lot of questions by the community in terms of what the turf is composed of. So I think having a turf specific presentation. I know that the Parks Department also is due to respond also on Commodore Barry as well.
Right.
About the turf. So I think a turf specific presentation.
It'd be good to know what alternatives there are. I mean, I think they touched on that a little bit when they were here. Maybe was it June or May, and because there were problems identified, or maybe it was when we had the friends groups.
Yeah, it's really started. I mean, the two main conversations have been around South Oxford and Commodore Barry, more like what is it going to be going forward. But South Oxford raised it as a concern with the turf in place. But I think
it was Green also, wasn't it in Green where they raised the issue about the turf? No,
Cadman Plaza.
Yeah, Cadman. Yeah, Cadman. There's a lot of chatter about it with Cadman. So I think the community is interested in terms of what is in this turf and what the the thinking and the plans and all of that, and in some cases, the replacement timetables.
Right. I just realized, Sabrina, I'm sorry, I didn't call upon you. I know you've been looking out. You were concerned about a park. Did you want to give a report? I meant to go last. I see you're still here.
Sabrina, you're muted.
Thanks, Andrew.
Barbara, since we're waiting on her, with regards to Tillery, just a little footnote from history. There is a young man, and he was very, very active, running a basketball league that played a lot in Tillery Park. And he was very successful in bringing that league's participation at Tillery Park to whoever was the borough president. And
McLaughlin.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And always got funding for that.
Yeah. What happened to him? We haven't seen him lately.
I don't know. You might want to ask, possibly Carol Ann might have some insight into that. The one other thing is that there is some kind of a service organization that utilizes the park structure there over the bathrooms.
Okay.
Possibly Carol Ann might know about it, or possibly the people from Parks Department could tell us exactly who it is. They've sort of, they're occupying it for some kind of program there, and they have the access to the bathrooms. Now, we were always hoping to get sufficient money to repair that bathroom scene there.
Well, the bathrooms are open. Anyone could use them.
Right, I know, but they still need a lot of work, supposedly.
All right, now, who did you say is what kind of organization?
I don't know what organization it is, but it is some kind of a social organization that occupies the premise there. I don't want to say more because I'm not sure.
All right.
It's a city sanctioned type of an operation. It's not just plain volunteer.
It would have to be. It would have to be approved by city.
And the thing is that the other field is, I think, a permitted field where the other parks are overlooking Flatbush Avenue. I think that's permanent, but I'm not sure. So maybe somebody from Parks Department could tell us about it. It's a field that Tish James poured a lot of money into.
Okay. I have a thought about those black particles.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want Sabrina, are you in a situation where you could talk?
Yeah, I am. Can just give me 30 seconds. Hang on.
Sure.
Ducking out now.
And then when we get a chance, just when we could get a chance, I wanted to add some footnotes to Fort Greene when we're done.
Yeah, sorry everybody. Yeah, I wanted to talk. I think Adam Yarich Park is the park that I mentioned. It's on my block and I'm very close to it. I touched briefly on the rat population problem last time, but I know the Willowtown Association and Linda DeRosa have been, working to get that resolved for a long time, and it definitely impacts that park and really the entire neighborhood over here. So I just wanted to flag that as an issue. And also people are definitely concerned about the housing insecurity problem. We have a person that's living in or near that park now, and that had been flagged as an issue too on social media and in parent groups.
Anything else about the equipment or the
equipment is good as far as I know, but I'll speak to the parents again and see if they have any requests. I know there's a gate that goes basically right to the highway, to the BQE, that's often left ajar. I don't know if it closes. Personally, I wish, that was kept closed or cut off, because you have 1- and 2-year-olds teetering right into Atlantic Avenue. I see the street view there.
And I was going to ask.
And then the last issue I quickly wanted to raise was with the mosquitoes, which is really a seasonal issue. And I realize we're past that point now, but the same thing for the whole Willowtown area. It's mosquito infested. And I know that the city pays to spray Cobble Hill just north of us. So it cuts off around Atlantic Avenue or a couple blocks, sorry, not north, south. So I feel like they're spraying that area, but then, leaving our area unsprayed, which if anything leads to an even bigger accumulation of mosquitoes. I mean, it's horrible. You walk into the park and you walk out with like 20 bites, and that goes for all the kids too. There's I understand that some of it is a standing water problem, but if they're spraying other areas, I don't know why they're cutting it off, during the blocks that to me need it the most.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? What was it, fence problem you said Atlantic Avenue? Because I got to get the notes clear here.
Oh, there's a gate that's open that leads to the highway.
Uh-huh.
And
yeah, I don't know if it's an infrastructure issue so much as the layout isn't great. It's a playground that targets little children. I think that playground has the train set. It's, probably ages.
Yeah. All of a sudden I can't hear you, but I do know that park, because we were in there with our granddaughter one day. And when you mentioned that railroad thing,
going really fast, and little kids, my son likes to run towards it, and it basically is just always open. But I know you have that issue at a lot of playgrounds, so I won't, I'll just note that and leave it at that, because I don't know if it's an issue with the mechanisms or just people,
Do you think the playground? Do you think the playground gets a fair amount of use?
I do, yeah. It's not as busy as Pierre Pont, I think, is the main playground in that area of the Heights. But I would probably put it second or third to that, and Chapin is the other playground that's closer to PS8. So,
Sabrina, do you know who does the spraying for mosquitoes? If it's, or if anyone else knows, if it's parks or if it's another agency?
I looked into it a couple months back. I can find out for you. I don't know. I know it's through the city, but I'm not sure which.
Yeah. No, I mean, it would be if it was parks, that would be a good thing for us to take up.
Let me find out.
That'd be great. right. Looks like Richard has some information on this. Richard, did you have something you wanted to contribute about the mosquito, addressing the mosquito issue?
Well, not that it was about the that situation with the gentleman that Sabrina mentioned, who's causing some difficulty and problems in the in that area. I just wanted to let them know that Officer Condon has been really active in trying to resolve that situation. It's a difficult one. The man is has mental problems, so it becomes an issue with how do you deal with that. And he was arrested once, but he gets right out. He goes right back to the street. Apparently has family that comes and gives him money. So I offered him money before I knew what the situation was with him, and he refused it. So people, his family gives him money. Apparently he's a very a man who's in very need of help, and no one can force him to be taken care of. But I just wanted to tell Sabrina that Officer Condon is very, very active in this, and he has brought Spanish-speaking officers there to speak to the man. He's trying to get the health department in there. He also had a meeting, or he's arranging a meeting with the woman who was accosted by this man with the New York Department of Health. To see how something could be done or what the problem is of getting help for this man. So I just wanted to mention that to Sabrina, that it's an inactive situation. And I was at a meeting the other night with Inspector Moscol, and I mentioned it to him also. He's going to check into the matter. I know it's not Park's business, but that she mentioned the situation.
I wasn't aware. I appreciate you sharing that. I had seen a lot of parents concerned, and I'm just making it, of record. I don't have any solutions or opinions, but I know it was something that was talked about and, by parents who visit that park specifically, because I think that our park was flagged as being a place that person is at often. So
yeah, no, he's
your update on it, and it sounds like you've done a lot personally to help. So thank you.
I'm trying. I'm going to put in the link at Officer Condon's number. You can call him. He is the neighborhood coordinating officer. So you can call him and ask him what's going on. He's really receptive and a sweet guy. I'm sure he'll give you all the updates and tell you where everything stands, so you could be very clear. All right?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Sabrina.
Good to know. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that.
Barbara?
Well, Sabrina, is there anything else you wanted to say?
I think that's all. That's all. I'm at the work event, so
okay.
I may have to jump off. But thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we appreciate it, Andrew.
Barbara, this is for Sabrina, and to remember later on. Underwood Park used to have a very big problem with children running out of the park into Lafayette Avenue for safety's sake. The Parks Department. Obviously, everything is money for them, but they did some reconfiguring of the way fencing was put around playgrounds to deter kids from going out, even if it's making an extra fence that's a little heavier for a kid to push out. So anything for that safety issue for kids by Atlantic Avenue could, we could push Parks later on to put something on the agenda. Because that to me is probably the most important safety issue. That's a very, very busy thoroughfare. And kids running out of there could be, will be fatal.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Let me speak to the other Willowtown parents and people who use that park and circle back to see if it's something other people are worried about too.
Sabrina, just one day, take a look at what's going on or what happened at Underwood Park around Lafayette, how they reconfigured and put extra fencing in to make it a little difficult for kids to get out. It's probably, not very expensive, and parks could probably do it.
Yeah, I was in I think it's Van Voorhis Park recently, and had a similar, it seems to be closed off, but it's right next to the highway. And my granddaughters were sort of got themselves in this area between the fence and some greenery. You know how it is when you look away for 2 minutes and then the kids are somewhere where they shouldn't. And I went over their parents were there as well. I went over to see what the story was, but there was a concern, could you get out that way? And it did not appear that you could. It still wasn't a good place to be.
Kids figure it out though.
It's yeah, but at least there did not seem to be a way to get out to the highway to the street from there. But it, you know, certainly there is concern, and really this is the first I've heard tonight about people kind of living in playgrounds or near them. So that certainly is problematic. I would think if you're a parent, you'd be concerned if your children were playing there. So, okay. So I think that brings us up to date on our reports.
I just wanted to say something.
Sure.
Before,
go ahead.
About the particles, the black particles on the turf. I have a funny feeling after seeing that diagram of how it is structured. Anybody, I'm sure a lot of people who watch the ball game, especially the Met game, this is what I watch. I don't watch the Yankees, but often you can see there's a ball hit to the outfield, line drive, say, it'll bounce on the outfield grass and something is bouncing off the surface. What is that? And I've seen this for the past couple of years. I have a feeling it's those black particles. I think they're rubber particles. And I think it's black rubber particles that are part of the design of these artificial surfaces that they use now. At City Field, it's not an artificial surface, but I think it's the same
Recycled
idea.
Tires.
Well, it could be.
That's what it's, I mean.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
They don't use the tires anymore, we were told. That they've moved away from that type of turf. Because there was some carcinogenic things in it.
In either way or not, they're using some kind of rubber in there. So wherever they're getting it from, I think that's what it is. I think that's the purpose of those particles. I think that's what it might be. So,
yeah. This would be good to understand, you know, in each of our fields, what they're made of.
And even if they're not using them anymore, that probably doesn't mean that they replace the ones that are out there. I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Right. And that's something for us to advocate for equitably.
So that's certainly something to look into. Turf 101. Okay. Okay. All right. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up related to the parks or playgrounds they've been looking at after hearing?
Barbara?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something to keep in mind on Fort Greene Park. On the side of DeKalb Avenue, overlooking that unbelievable retaining wall that's all around the park, but especially on the side of DeKalb Avenue and generally in the vicinity where the entrance is to the hospital and going towards the area across the street from Brooklyn Tech. The ramparts or whatever those pieces on top of the retaining wall, they look like, miniature pyramids or something. In a few places that they're ready to come off those walls. And we've been advocating it all the time, but unfortunately, Parks Department has only one person working for any concrete work. But if you walk around there, you'll see that a few of them are ready to come down. And it's just a matter of time that some vandal decides to help it a little more so that the next time some kids could push it off and hurt somebody. And the kids from Brooklyn Tech use that area very heavily.
Well, I'm just wondering if any, since we have a couple of people here from the Conservancy, if this is something they've had an opportunity to address or be concerned about.
And two more issues I wanted to, we do have a beautiful place where we have picnics in Fort Greene Park, but they're on the Myrtle Avenue side. Yet realistically, a lot of the people in the summertime do their barbecuing and picnics along Washington Park side. They just barbecue there in their own little pits. They create them, and then they're kind of nasty. Yeah, those pieces are falling off. Especially by Brooklyn Tech High School, those pieces are ready to go. But the barbecue pits on the Fort Greene, the Washington Park side, after they finish with the barbecuing, they just dump the coals all around by the trees. And someday it'll be someday some roots will catch fire. And also with the emptying of the barbecue pits, they also leave a lot of grease, and that invites a lot of the rats. So that's something to we should keep our attention to that, and actually maybe consider that in the future, maybe make some provisions for barbecue pits in that area of the park that's along Washington Park side. Because it's in the summertime, from the Willoughby Avenue entrance to the DeKalb side, people do barbecue there, especially by the Willoughby Avenue entrance.
So going back to the sort of the ramparts, would you call them, on top of those?
I don't know what that piece of furniture is called, but it's...
As I said before, I see we have at least two people here from the Conservancy, in addition to Lenny. Do you have you focused at all in the Conservancy about those sort of roofs on?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Ed Sen from the Fort Greene Park Conservancy. With
Thanks
regards
for being
here. Yeah, my pleasure. With regards to Andrew's question and what he's referring to, yes, the Conservancy and the Parks Department is well aware of this situation, and we do plan on addressing this. I will defer all future questions regarding that matter to the Parks Department specifically, but there is a plan to address this down the line.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, I think, do we have any guests who want to contribute anything about parks that they're concerned about or have an interest in? Playgrounds?
Barbara, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
I almost neglected. University Plaza still is neglected, and it still is littered. It does not get much, if any, attention for Parks Department, except that they finally did cut down one of the trees that was very badly diseased. But they left the stump there that everyone can walk by. They left it even uglier, actually, when they removed the tree that absolutely needed to be removed. And it's a shame. It's just an eyesore in a very, very public area, very well-traveled area, trafficked area. Well, that's near LIU right there. That's really not the plaza. It's yeah. Let me look at these pictures here. That's the one. Yeah, basically this is the area. But I'm talking about the grassy area. That's a smaller part of it, that grass, but you can see how uncared for it is. That is not really the part I'm talking about, but it's just, it's neglected.
Well, I don't know the answers. Is University Plaza considered a park?
It is Parks Department.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Absolutely. University Place is the official name. And instead of getting better, it's getting worse looking in there. Mayor does not want to do anything with it. He said as much the first time I had mentioned University Place to him, what, 2 or 3 years ago when I started coming to these meetings. He said it's one of 804 of these types of properties that the Parks Department owns, and they can't do much for every one of them. It's something, you know, that's not verbatim, but that's basically what his answer was. His first answer when I asked him anything about University Place. And it's not getting better there. It's an area where the population is just growing and growing, and it just sits there. Dog owners use it to walk their dogs. They pick up after themselves in there because dog owners respect where their dogs go. But it shouldn't be neglected. It shouldn't be, it should be manicured at least. It should be well manicured in an area that's so highly visible. And that's just by residents, by shoppers, by the university kids that go there, attend there. And I don't know how to get them to do anything. To do what their obligations are for that piece of property that they own and are responsible for. So I don't know. I don't want to. I can't say too much more about it, except they shouldn't let it go the way they do.
Okay. All right, well, you're certainly looking after it and reaching out to the Parks Department about it. Going back to, but thank you for raising that.
May I speak?
Sure, Richard.
I'm talking for the Park Stewardship Program. That's why the Stewardship Program was started. The citizens, like you're doing here, the citizens can go in there and adopt that park, that area. I put in the chat, perhaps Long Island University would be interested in taking that on as a project to really beautify it, have some students. There must be a department of horticulture or agriculture that, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity. I'm now trying to get New York Tech. I just pruned all the trees down Tillery Street from Cadman Plaza West all the way to Flatbush. The new trees that were there, I pruned them. But I'm not thinking now of getting a New York Tech to adopt the island there on Tillery Street, right opposite their school. It's a great project for the students. It's a great project for the neighborhood. So that might be a thing to do to approach LIU and say, you know, find out if there's some group that would be interested in taking that on, and they'll beautify it.
Well,
Thank you.
I do know that the president of LIU has been contacted in the past over the years about University Plaza, and she ignores any attempts of interacting.
Yeah, well, it's a money issue with the president. You got to find the department that deals with that. You got to find that renegade teacher, that will take it on. I did it when I taught at Redi in Brownsville. I took over the whole front yard of the school. I brought my students out there, and we planted, and we did all. The people loved it. We also got trees from the New York State Agricultural Department. And we went around Brownsville to these the private homes, and we offered them these seedlings. I've been back there a couple of times, and they're giant trees now. It's just amazing what people will do when you give them the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. You know, I did have a thought when the individual from Fort Greene Conservancy, I think, was talking, Fort Greene Park. You guys are not very far from University Plaza. I wonder if you might not want to adapt University Plaza into the Fort Greene Park Conservancy. It's what, a block or two away. I do know that I do volunteer gardening in the park, in Fort Greene Park.
Yeah.
And I'm good friends with Max. I'm sure you know her.
Yes, Max is a wonderful part of the team, and I will share your note with our board and have them take that under advisement.
I appreciate it. Max has told me several times that she would like the opportunity to work in that area, turn it into a nice appointed garden. She would like to be involved with that, but you know, how to get her involved, how to be able to get her involved is another story. I don't. So, but I do appreciate that you would want to do something too about this.
Okay. I wanted to move on again. Just one more time, if there's anyone else who's here from the public who wants to talk about a specific playground or park that we haven't talked about tonight. All right, we're going to jump then.
Barbara,
yeah,
I would just offer with that prior conversation. It made me think in the Dumbo Brooklyn Heights area, we have this like DOT traffic triangle with I think it's technically under DOT auspice, or maybe actually it is parks, but it's just a little triangle.
It's not parks.
It's okay, and it definitely gets overrun and littered. Richard, anytime you want to go in there and prune.
Well, assuming we're talking about, maybe we're talking about different. I thought you meant the triangle at Court and Joralemon. You're not talking.
No.
That.
I'm talking about the one on Old Fulton when you walk down from Henry and Old Fulton and going into Dumbo. So
yes,
in our case,
I know that area very well. I used to take care of the plants, actually the ones that are down Old Fulton Street, down by Elizabeth Place, and those, I planted all those. I was taking care of them when I owned the parking lot there. Since I sold it and the pandemic, I haven't had time. I know that area very, very well. There was a wonderful woman from the Eagle that was taking care of it. She had some great ideas. We were working together. She did most of the work because that was like her little thing. And then people started putting in their 2 cents, not wanting to work, but just making, we don't want this, we don't want that. So she gave up on it. It needs extensive work. There's a lot of weeds there, a lot of vines. I pruned the area by the Brooklyn Bridge. I did that one a couple of times. That was a big job.
But I was just thinking, like, by way of illustration. So, like in our case, the bid has stepped in to use their guys to clean out the area when we notice that it's getting, over littered, and so that might be another avenue for University Place or other of these areas. If
good idea.
If the bid would just, occasionally brush through there and pick up litter.
But it needs plants. It needs plants.
But even if the thing it mostly needs is to be trimmed, because when you walk through there in the evenings and it's the trees are sort of so overgrown that it actually makes it even more unsafe.
Are you talking about our triangle here in Dumbo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take care of that. That's my jurisdiction. I'll definitely. Okay. You don't have to worry about that. The trees will be pruned. I was doing a project somewhere else, so all my pruning stuff was there. I just brought it back, so I got to do some more pruning in the neighborhood. So I'll definitely
over in Old Fulton by the garage.
Right across from the garage. I know the triangle very well.
Yeah.
The triangle that used to be Emily Roebling park. That little triangle.
Possibly. I don't want to get us too off track, but I was just more to be illustrative in terms of another potential way that
I'll get in there.
Groups can help and improve areas.
I'll take care of that. That's my jurisdiction.
All right. Again, thank you. Jumping to the chairperson's report, I just wanted to mention that I was one of the many people last weekend who helped do some planting at Cadman Plaza Park. And I took the opportunity, I wasn't talking to a lot of people, but a few people, to mention both the community board and the parks committee. And I was surprised when somebody had had no idea about the community board. And so I spoke to Doreen, who's the head of the conservancy there. And I've been working with the district office. I had a few ideas. I volunteered with Doreen to go talk to her group about our parks committee. And also I thought it'd be a good idea if we had some sort of one-page handout that we would have available to talk about the community board on one side, and on the other side, so you only have one piece of paper, not half a dozen, talk about the different committees with a QR code. And that way, when someone said to me, what's the parks committee? Or what's the community board? I'd have something at hand, all of us, to share that information. It's kind of hard to say, oh, give me your email address, or here's my email address. And if you had something like that. So we'll see if I've written to, I'm trying to get some feedback on that. I've suggested that, so to be continued. But community outreach from us, here's another thing. In addition to social media, we've done a really good job lately trying to improve community outreach, and I think this is just another example of what we could do. Then we're going to jump to other committee business. Taya, I think I'm going to turn this over to you.
Was there something in particular that you wanted to cover?
You were going to give us an update on dog runs?
Partially. So I can share a few things. Mr. Leventon is directly, for those of you that were at the meeting where Chris Yandoli from Parks Department came and gave the updates that I've been showing the slides of tonight. Since that meeting, the office put him, at his request, which was very generous of him, the office put him in touch with Mr. Leventon regarding the University Place dog run. And we reached out to the Clinton Hill dog run people. We haven't actually heard back from them in quite some time. And he's also in touch directly with the NYC Bike Polo folks. That is the only update I have at the moment. I'm sure actually, I was actually thinking that Mr. Leventon would actually have more updates on his communications with them since he's communicating directly with him.
Well, before we get to that, it's my understanding from our discussion that Chris and Lenny have been in communication, maybe more than once, and that in terms of whether or not the board would send a letter to the Parks Department about dog runs, that at this point we didn't anticipate a letter going out, is what the update you gave me, because of this connection going on at the moment.
Right. So just to be very clear, a letter of support is generally requested of the committee by an external organization that is having trouble getting something through a process with a city agency. However, in this case, the city agency is being more than accommodating and working directly with the constituents that came to this committee for assistance. So there is no need at this time to request a letter of support because they're already supporting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it makes sense if the facts were really the way you say. I wrote a letter to Mr. Yandoli at his request. He asked me to write to him, telling him my thoughts about University Place having a dog park there, how it has after I let him know that it has community support. There's a friends group in place. The dog owners and people really want it. They're very enthused about it. It's an ideal place, but it needs to be studied for its feasibility. And he told me, put all these into a letter to him, and he will relay these thoughts, I believe he said, to Marty Mayer. And I wrote the letter, which I wish I had in front of me. I don't.
Okay.
But it's basically what I just said here.
What was his
He did
response?
not get back to me. He did not get back to me.
Okay,
And,
so Lenny,
then,
I would just remind the members of the board that if you are communicating with the city agency, and we remind the committee chairs of this occasionally from time to time, please make sure that you're copying the district office email address. It just really helps to facilitate communication.
Okay, I sent you a copy, and I sent Barbara a copy of that letter. I kind of regret that I did it to BCC instead of just where I didn't want to feel like I was being too pushy. That's why I didn't let them know.
No, that's absolutely appropriate. I'm quite sure the Parks Department would get nothing done if they had the 147,000 neighbors in our district writing them directly. So please, it is absolutely appropriate to copy the district office, and please
what at this
feel free to. I would just send a very. They are very busy, so just feel free to, if it's been a couple of weeks since you've heard from him, feel free to send him a gentle tap, and this time please do copy the district office email, and then we'll just keep following up with him. For the record, and I'm happy to say this on the public recording, I personally have found that the Parks Department is one of the most responsive agencies in the city. So I'm quite sure it's not personal, and I don't believe Mr. Yandoli would have offered his assistance in a public forum if he wasn't sincere in that. So we'll help you just keep moving it forward.
Okay, I have the feeling that it's who he relates the letter to, who he discusses or shows the letter to, is the one that needs, I don't want to use the word prodding, but that's the people that need to respond to this. I mean, I'm sure that he, and
as you all know, because you just finished this process, you know that we have currently just submitted the board's requests for fiscal year 23. So I would manage the expectations of the Friends group, Mr. Leventon, that you may not see this happen in the next year. And I think that the Parks Department was very fair and very clear in explaining that because of the particular location of the requested space directly above the tunnels of the DeKalb subway station, there's a significant feasibility study that needs to be done, and that simply costs money and needs time.
Well, that's what I put in the letter. Yeah. And that's what we discussed months earlier that we were going to ask them to do. And as I pointed out to Mr. Yandoli, I'm not sure that the letter was ever written. And from what you're saying, the letter hasn't been written yet. And I wonder if that's what would prod them more at this point. I don't know what more I can really do beyond the letter I sent to them already.
Mm-hmm. I actually think everything's being done perfectly well. Just, I mean, I would say until you hear a no from them, it's not a no. Just a reminder, as Barbara and I experienced recently, took 15 years to get a new plaque in Fort Greene Park. These things just take time. So, Mr. Leventon, I would say just please send a polite reminder on that email. This time, please copy the district office, and we will help you follow up and track.
Should I reattach the original letter with it?
That would be great.
I think I should.
Yeah. I think we all realize that everything with parks takes, a long time. But it was my understanding that we were sending a letter from the board, if you will, or our committee, I should say, from our committee requesting a feasibility study be done. And we did get Chris Yandoli, who I thought was terrific, did come back with some general language about sort of feasibility, but I think we really felt like we wanted to have some formalization on what the challenges were on that, and just some more formalization around that, around our desire for feasibility information and some formalization in a response. And
if I'm not mistaken, it's included in the FY23 statement of needs, correct?
No. Well, I sent it in on the list. But that's something that really irked me.
So are you saying that?
I was at the general meeting last week. I was viewing it. And there were 29 out of 30 requests made. There was a spot for a 30th that was not made. And the dog park was not one of those 29.
Well, that was from a vote. So
it's 40 capital requests, 25 expense requests.
Yeah, it was included in the items that we voted on. Are you saying, Taya, that if it's included? Yes.
It may not have made the final list.
It was not on the list. It was not on the list. And there was a slot open. There was a 30th spot.
It was an item that we voted on.
That's right. So that's just how the vote landed. That's democracy.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you please tell me when that was done? Because it wasn't at that meeting. When were those decided? When were they voted on?
Lenny, the statement of needs, which you may be more familiar with as SDNBR, the office has been emailing the board members regularly about this since May. So you have certainly received notification.
Okay, I'm not a board member. I am not a board member. That's
you are a member of the committee, so you received the same communications, I promise.
Okay.
Right, but only the board members do the voting, correct?
Right.
No, incorrect.
Oh, incorrect. Oh,
yes, for statement of needs, because it is an entirely internal prioritization process.
Oh,
they were also invited to vote this year and last year.
Oh,
that's something I did not know.
More democracy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. So that's why I wrote to Taya and said, I'm getting these emails, but it doesn't apply to me. And she said, yes, it does.
Okay. That's right. Jennifer is a good example. The emails were received.
And Jennifer voted, so.
Yes.
Okay. I can
Jennifer,
see why that's.
You are a member, right? Of the main.
Jennifer is a public member.
No, public member.
Hey. Yeah, good to know.
Okay. So just to put a bow on this, personally, I think you should allow the negotiation process to unfold naturally and respect the prioritization and the time restraints of the Parks Department. I feel they've been very willing. So I think you have a willing partner in that agency to at least hear you out. Like I said, the bike polo team was at the same meeting. They've had a similar process. They were, last I've heard from them, they were scheduling a site visit. The slightly different need. They're looking for a permanent home. They were scheduling a site visit and an in-person meeting. So, but again, that took some time. And I think one of the key staffers that was on leave for a month, etc. So this is just life in busy COVID municipal administrative times. I personally feel that a letter from the board would be a little heavy-handed at this point.
Okay.
But that is not my call to make. So if the committee chooses to go that route, that's up to you all.
Okay. So I will do a follow-up to him and see it to who exactly at the board. Can you give me that address and put it in the chat?
No problem.
Thank you. Yeah, of course I know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee business? All right, I'm going to open it up now to community forum. Do we have any guests who, and I would ask people, please stick to the 2 minutes.
I would like to speak if I may.
Yes, even though you've already had 5 minutes, but we'll give you 2 minutes here. You always have something good to, something valuable to contribute, Richard.
I hope.
And I, I repeat my invitation. We'd love to have you join the committee.
I've been considering it, but my schedule is really right now very tight for the next.
But you come anyway. You come to the meetings.
I come for the Parks Stewardship Program and Trees New York. I represent them here. So if I may.
Yeah, you get to vote if you join.
I'm sorry?
You get to vote if you join.
Okay, I'm considering, but right now I have a big schedule. I'm really tied down, just pruning trees and.
Okay. Well, please keep doing that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm also the community partner for the 8-4 here in Sector B and Sector A, which is where that situation was. Why I know so much about it. So let me get back to what I'm here for tonight. Good evening. My name is Richard Morrow. I am the captain for the New York City Park Stewardship Program for the North Heights, Fulton Landing, Dumbo, Vinegar Hill, and Farragut housing, as well as a licensed citizen pruner. The Parks Department Citizen Stewardship Program is always looking to develop new stewards. If you would like more information about becoming a steward or how they can help you getting a project going, Ms. Levinson, please go to our website to get all the information about the program. I'll put it in the chat. Trees New York has many programs that could fit into your parks and surrounding areas. Scheduling a Get to Know Your Parks greenery walk would be beneficial for the young and old alike. And we are always looking to train new citizen pruners. Last month, I mentioned that all green spaces contribute to a wide range of important microbial communities in the soil. Tonight, I'd like to start with a song. The autumn leaves drift by your window, the autumn leaves of red and gold. Now, Nat King Cole did a better job than I did, but I brought it up because recently they discovered that some of the bright colors that appear in the fall are from carotenoid pigments that exist in leaves, but are masked by bright green chlorophyll, the pigment that captures the sun's energy from photosynthesis. That is to say that if you look at the buds on the trees now or in the really early spring, you'll see the actual yellow and gray, all the different colors that the leaves really are. Again, the green chlorophyll takes over because it transforms it feeds the plant. When the days grow shorter and colder, trees stop producing the chlorophyll and the colors, the carotenoids, which appear yellow, orange, and brown, become visible. Researchers used to think that this was how leaves turn red, but recently it was found that anthocyanin pigments, which appear red or purple, are actually made by the leaves in the fall. This discovery made scientists rethink if the color changes serve specific functions for the trees. Most of them feel that the leaves change colors to protect the leaves from giving them a little longer time to live and take nutrients during the colder months. At any rate, I want to thank you and enjoy the beautiful colors. And when you look at a tree, and don't forget to look at the forest. Have a good night.
Thank you, Richard. Oh, look at that. You got a heart from Taya. Okay, anyone else for community forum? Okay, and just to backtrack for a minute, we are looking for ideas for upcoming meetings. So please, get back to Taya and to me if you have any additional suggestions for topics for us to cover. With that, I think I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Andrew?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And I'm glad, knock wood, Andrew, you and I made it through here without any tech problems. So that's wonderful. I want to wish everyone a very joyous and happy Thanksgiving with lots of beautiful fall foliage. And stay healthy during that holiday. All right, I'll second the motion to adjourn. Anyone opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Have a good night and a good holiday. Thank you.